grandchildren. You know, this Irish American community in Stanford has a long history of participation in politics, as you probably well know. When I first got here, then Mayor Dan Malloy asked me to join a committee that was going to find a way to produce a statue or memorial of some kind to recognize the Irish American contribution to Stanford. And if I am elected mayor, I will revitalize that effort, which got waylaid by budget crisis, and try to build such a memorial in Stanford, starting with private funds to spur us on. So the question is, why do I want to be mayor? I believe that I offer a unique combination of experience and skills, unlike any other candidate in the current race, that could truly benefit Stanford. And I'll just enumerate those for you briefly. I have federal experience. I know how to manage public service employees. As was mentioned, I ran 2 diplomatic posts. I ran 3 major offices in the State Department. I know that running government is not like running business. Governments answer to elected boards. They have different constituencies. Government workers are not motivated by the same values as profit or volume. You know, you pay the street, no matter how many streets you pay, no matter how many permits you issue in City Hall, you're not going to get any more pay for that. You're just going to get more work. So you have to know how to motivate them to appeal to what makes them want to work successfully in their jobs. And I have a lot of experience in doing that, which I think can help our city a great deal. I have international experience, obviously, from my diplomatic career. So what difference does that make for Stanford? Stanford is part of the global economy. We should be actively working to bring more international corporations and more international trade possibilities to this city. Do you know that the most dynamic, growing economy in the world today is that of Mexico? So don't think drugs, don't think illegal immigration, think aerospace industry, think high-tech innovators. They're all over that country. We should have them here. We should have Mexican companies having representatives here, investing here. What about India, one of the most other dynamic economies in the world? As far as I know, and Raj can correct me if I'm wrong, because he knows the stuff inside and out, I think there's only one Indian company that has its headquarters here in Stanford, and that's Tasty Bite with my friend Ashok Vasudevan, who's on corporate business out of the country right now, or else he would be here. We should have 6 Indian companies here in this city, having their headquarters, the U.S. headquarters here in Stamford, Connecticut. I have a wide range of experience and contacts that can help make this a reality. Number 3, electoral experience. Annabelle talked about it. We've run together representing District 8. Each time I've run, I've had a very successful campaign. I've knocked on doors, done phone banking, done all the gut work that goes with working for an election, so I know what it takes to win an election here in Stanford. Number 4, I'm fluent in Spanish. Again, because of my career. Immigrants in Latin America are our largest foreign-born community here in Stanford. I understand them. I know many of them. Many of them here. Some of them are here tonight. It wasn't many. That'd be a huge number. I understand their language and their culture. I have 2 daughters born in Colombia. Yo quiero ser la primera alcaldesa bilingual en Stanford. That is, I want to be the first bilingual mayor. Okay, 4th, I am a woman. And today is March 1st, and March is Women's History Month. Now, the problems in Stanford are going to be the same, you know, whether the mayor is a man or a woman. But a woman brings, not only representing 50% of the population, more or less, of Stanford, a woman brings a more collaborative, inclusive style, usually to politics and to management. We have high expectations for performance on the part of our staffs. None of this, you know, old boys network. We've got to perform. Women are highly tuned to the needs of families and children in our city. So I think it's time. That was my previous slogan, it's time. Well, I say it's time for a woman. So yes. Hopefully we really consider that. In terms of skills and experience, I have a platform. I formed my exploratory committee last June. Before then, but since then especially, I've been working very hard, talking to community leaders, business leaders, political leaders, about what Stamford needs. Wait a minute, just I have met with many of the city leaders. I've published a number of articles in the city media about important issues. I offer a vision, but also I offer a vision with specific steps, not just slogans. Every candidate wants to improve our schools and keep our taxes low. But how are you going to get there? I have been offering solutions for the past 6 months, and I'll just highlight a very few of them for you because I don't want to go on too long. We have a friendly Irish bar. We're going to keep the party happy. My vision, briefly, it's spelled out in the papers that are over at the end table. Be sure to take one with you. But just to go through it generally, it's important to retain Stamford's role as a major financial center. But we also have to be looking ahead to the next curve, the next wave. We need to be looking more at investments also in sports, entertainment, bioscience, international trade and investment. I want to assure that Stamford workers benefit from Stamford's construction boom and overall economic developments. You know, when I was growing up in Ansonia, my hometown, 45 minutes up the road, union was not a dirty word. A union was the way that my family, my father was a factory worker, my mother was a bookkeeper, that's how we moved into the middle class. That's how my sister went to nursing school and I went to college. I don't understand why our highly skilled, organized building trades people who pay taxes in Connecticut and whose kids go to schools in Connecticut, why they can't get jobs here in Stamford. I would like to see that changed. Next year, J. Wright Tech is supposed to reopen, 2014 here at Stamford. It will be producing more skilled workers in the new fields that we need. You know, a technical school is not shop anymore. You can't even fix a car without knowing how to use computers these days. We're going to be producing new young workers with the skills that are needed for the 21st century, and I don't want them to be squeezed out of work by workers from Texas and Mississippi. So that's a very important goal in my mind. I also would like to return Stamford to the list of the top 10 safest cities in the United States. We've fallen off that in the last couple of years. I believe we need a special effort for our at-risk youth. The kids in their early teens and mid-teens, they get lost to the streets. There are various programs around Stamford to try to address this issue. There's no coordination, there's very little communication amongst the different groups, whether it's a Yearwood Center or the Stamford City Parks, Parks and Recreation Department. It's time for us to pull these resources together, make sure we're using the resources as efficiently as possible, and have a concerted effort to get to these kids before they get caught up in gangs and other kinds of illegal activity. I would like to find ways to get the next generation of young professionals who are either returning here from college or moving into the city to inspire them to stay here. They are our future parents, our future homeowners. The housing market is only as good as the demand. And I think it's sad that so many of young people who, once they decide to marry and have families, they got to move to Shelton because they can't afford to live in Stamford. I would like us to think about creating some tax strategies to change that. Also, we have to make sure that the schools continue to improve. Good schools keep young families here in Stamford. I would like to see us continue on the reforms that have been begun by the Stamford school system, and especially with the English language learners. We saw recently how Stamford had fallen behind and not properly set up systems to help English language learners in the grammar schools really get a good feel for English. So I hope that that's something I can work on. I think we need to have more bang for our buck for your taxes in how government works. I would like to see our city government be more agile, more tech savvy, more flexible. I'm not talking about a major streamlining that fires people. Hopefully that's a last resort if it ever has to happen. But there's a lot of good things going on in city government. And there's a lot of best practices we need to share amongst the different departments. I would like to see employees, welcome employees, giving me suggestions as mayor on what we can do better. They know the jobs better than anybody else. And that can help us keep the taxes low, which is everybody's goal. Finally, I promise an open door in the mayor's office. We have not had that for the past 4 years. We need to have that. We need to continue the dialogue with our citizens, our various neighborhoods that are so important to the character of this city. I promise you that I will do my best to reach out to all the neighborhoods and to have continuous dialogue, not just once in a great while, not just a ribbon-cutting ceremony, but a regular, continuous dialogue with citizens and the various neighborhoods of this great city. So in sum, I know I'm not the only woman in the race. I'm not the only elected official in the race. Honors to my colleague, Martin. I'm not the only one with public service management. But I am the only candidate that combines all these skills and more. I want to use my experience and my skills to be the next mayor of Stamford, and I hope you will all join me in that effort. Thank you very much.